Hi, this is Kevin, personal trainer, kinesiologist, just talking about exercises to do if you're cycling. So for cardio, cycling is a great way to get some cardio training in. It can be easier on the joints than running, jogging. It just requires a little bit more balance. The most important thing about training for cycling or training to supplement cycling is that cycling works the front muscles the most. So thigh or quad, hip flexors. Mm, it's in a bit of a forward position, which would be a little bit tighter in the front side, shoulder, chest. So what we do to supplement cycling is train the muscles all of the back. So we would train upper back, shoulder blades, mid back or lats, lower back muscles, glutes. Those would be the primary muscles that we would train. So I'm going to show you 2 or 3 exercises for each, and you can do these exercises every second day. So if day 1 you're cycling, day 2 is rest, day 3 cycling, you would do it in between your cycling sessions. So day 2, you could do this 2 or 3 times a week if you were supplementing that with cycling. Or if your cycle rides are shorter, you could start with a warm-up, some cardio, maybe 20-30 minutes of a ride, and then come back and finish your resistance training, more for muscular endurance. So you have different options. Can be done same day if the cycling rides are short, can be done on opposite days if your cycle rides are 2 to 3 hours long. So most of the equipment we're going to use here are bands. We also have TheraBands, and the thicker the band, the more resistance. So we'll start with the back muscles. So if we cycle for too long, a lot of times depending on your bike, shoulders are rounded. So we need to strengthen the muscles of the upper back. If you are in this position most of the day, seated, it can cause neck discomfort or shoulder blade discomfort. So to help with posture, we work the upper back. So you would grab your TheraBand or your resistance band. A T-row. So for this one, your arms will go straight, shoulders down, and you tear the band apart. Breathing out when you tear it apart, breathing in when you return. For a side view, shoulders back, opening and closing. So you would aim for 10 to 15 repetitions of these exercises, 2 or 3 sets, and that's to help counteract the rounded shoulders, strengthening the upper back. Feeling that in rear shoulders, upper back. The T-row. Another way you could train those same upper back muscles with your same band, whether it is TheraBand or resistance band, you would want to do external rotation. So still for your upper back muscles. So for this one, you would start with one arm at a time, and you're going to rotate and come back. Rotate and come back. So side view, rotating and coming back. Both my shoulders are down. Feeling that in your shoulder blade muscles or rotator cuff muscles. And this one you would aim for 10 to 15 reps. If you start feeling pinching or discomfort, it means you got to loosen the load a little bit. So with bands, the closer you grab it, the harder it is. The further, the more comfortable. And you have different degrees of bands. So if you can have a band hung up against the pole, this one has a door stopper. You could also do the same exercise where you rotate and come back. Shoulders down, stomach muscles pulled in. Feeling that more around the top of the shoulder creeping to the side of the arm. So you would do both sides, 10 to 15 reps, 2 to 3 sets. But that's for your upper back. So that would be your first exercise to try, whether it's a T-row or an external rotation or shoulder rotation. The next one would be for your lats. Important to do rowing exercises. Again, if we're cycling for a long period of time, the back muscles need a little bit more toning or need more resistance on them. So it would be a row. So if you have a band that has a door stopper, you could attach it to the door and pull. Or if you have a pole somewhere or a balcony, you can also row from there. But this one would be your 2-arm row. In this position, pulling back. pulling and returning. Shoulders are down, breathing out when you pull, breathing in when you return. Elbows close to the rib. Two-arm row. That would be for your mid-back. We did your upper back, 2 exercises, mid-back. Standing row. Can be done 2 arms or 1 arm, especially if the band is a little bit weaker. Try 1 arm. That's level 1. If you want to add, or you cannot attach your band anywhere, what you can do is a bent over row. So for this one, stepping on the band, and here you want to stick the hips back like you're in a deadlift. So sometimes people squat it, but you want to hinge back. Chest parallel to the ground, feeling that in your hamstrings, your glutes. And from here you can go into a bent over row. So you have the band, you can grab handle and band together. Breathing out when you pull, breathing in when you return. So that's the bent over row for your mid-back or lats, rear shoulders. Bent over row would be another option to train your mid-back. So again, 10 to 15 reps, 2 to 3 sets for endurance. So we did upper back, T-row, shoulder rotation, mid-back, 2-arm row with the band, or bent over row, stepping on the band and pulling. 2 options for your mid-back. The next one's training your muscles of the back, also tricep muscles, or the back of the arm. So an option for those ones, still, if you have your band attached to a door frame, it would be a straight arm pull. Arms are in front of you and you pull straight down. Breathing out when you pull, breathing in when you return, returning just to shoulder height. Feeling that in your back of the arms or tricep and lat muscles, mid-back. A straight arm pull down can be done with 2 arms, or you can grab both handles and pull one at a time. Also helpful to strengthen muscles that aren't used as much in cycling. Cycling uses front muscles the most, so we're trying to add resistance to back muscles. Option 1 for your triceps and rear shoulder. Option 2 is what we were doing earlier, your bent over position. If you don't have anything to attach a band, into that bent over position, up like it's a row, and then an extension. That's a tricep kickback. Still for strengthening muscles of the back of the arms. I'm using a TheraBand, but you could use your resistance band, pressing or stepping on it. And from there, that is your bent over tricep extension. So tricep exercise bent over, or straight arm pull down with the band if you have somewhere to attach it to. And then lastly, so those glute muscles. Because we use a lot of front hip muscles in cycling, we want to work the glutes that help with, instead of a low back in a rounded position, more in a neutral position. Glutes help with that. Helping prevent hamstring injuries or knee injuries. Glutes also help with that. So it's important to do some sort of glute exercise to supplement or complement your cycling. So we've been doing a lot of bent over positions here. So for this one, seeing if you can, different levels. Level 1, legs straight, where you stick the hip back, feel a stretch in your hamstring, and you come up tall. That's good if it is uncomfortable to bend further down, but that's a straight leg bend. Aiming again for your 10 to 15 repetitions. Option 2, a little bit more challenging, is what we did with the resistance bands. Bent over position. Stomach muscle pulled in, sticking your hips behind you, hamstring glutes. and that's just a deadlift or a hip bend. You can go further to the ground, feeling that in the hamstrings and tightening in the glutes on the way up. That's your second option. So straight leg bend, deadlift positions. If you are doing deadlift with weight, imagine that you have some weight, something a little bit heavier. So sometimes people have like milk jugs, something they can put weight on there. You would still go with that weight directly underneath your body if you're doing option 2, your deadlift. For glute or hip muscles, if you're trying to strengthen them, you can also add 2 more options. Now this time your squat. Difference between a squat and a bend. Bend chest to the ground, hips go behind you. My squat, my chest stays up high. That's the difference. One's more to the ground, one is a little bit higher, but my back stays neutral. So you get into your squatted position, and from here, you see if you can add a monster walk. This also works glute muscles, moving that hip sideways, and in that squatted, you'll feel that glutes, hamstring, quads. Monster walk. If you wanted to add resistance, you could use your band, either tying your band around in a loop, or using your band if it's a little bit of a stronger band, moving over one way and the other. So that would be a monster walk. And the last option in a standing position, there are many glute exercises, but I show a few here, would be a hip side raise or abduction, having a wall for support, one foot in front to the side, and you move out to the side and coming back. Feeling that in the side of the hip, low back stays neutral. Sometimes people do it and they move their whole lower body, just the hip moves in that position. Planting the foot each time, and you'll feel the glutes of both sides, the supporting and non-supporting. So if I had a wall for support, it would look like a side raise. So for cycling, you just want to strengthen muscles of the back, muscles that you don't usually use in cycling, mostly front dominant. Upper back, mid back, low back, glute muscles. Tricep, anything that's in the back, strengthening those muscles. Today I showed with resistance bands. In the end, if you could do in a routine for resistance training, especially at home, 3 to 6 exercises, it's in that range, 2 to 3 sets, 10 to 15 repetitions if that's more endurance that you're aiming for. So here I showed you about 8 exercises. You would choose 3. Start with that, 2 to 3 sets, and incorporate that in your off days for cycling, or after your cycling ride if you find it's more shorter duration. Besides that, follow the channel. If you have any comments, hit me up. All right, enjoy your cycling.